The night was cold, the city street empty except for one small figure sitting in the shadows. She was an alien girl, her skin once a bright color but now hidden under layers of dust and dirt. Her hair was tangled, her clothes torn, and her eyes, hollow from hunger. People passed by but no one stopped. Everyone whispered the same word when they saw her. Dirty. For days she had not eaten. Her stomach hurt and her lips were dry. She hugged her knees tightly, trying to stay warm on the hard stone ground. The market had closed hours ago. Broken. Crates and old food scraps lay scattered around her. Dogs sniffed the trash, but even they avoided her. As if she was cursed, the alien people of this city had long ago decided she was nothing. She had no family, no clan, no one to speak for her. In their eyes, she was only filth unworthy of help. When she asked for bread, they pushed her away. When she begged for water, they spat at her feet. She had grown used to the rejection, but the pain in her heart never left on this night as the moons rose high above the broken buildings. Her eyes closed slowly. She wondered if this would be her last night alive. She thought no one would notice if she disappeared. The world had already forgotten her. But then, footsteps echoed on the street, heavy and steady. A man walked through the fog, his boots striking. The ground with confidence. He was not like the others. His face was pale, his eyes sharp, and his build strong. He was human, one of the few humans who still dared to live in this alien city. The people did not trust humans. They said humans were dangerous, selfish, and proud. The girl watched him with fear. She had learned long ago that humans could be cruel as well. She thought he would ignore her, maybe even kick her aside like the others did. She lowered her head, waiting for him to pass, but the footsteps stopped. The man was standing only a few steps away. He looked at her carefully, his face calm. His eyes were not filled with hate or disgust. Instead, they carried something strange, something the girl could not understand. "You should not be here." His voice was low, steady. She shook her head and whispered, "I have nowhere else." He crouched down slowly so he would not scare her. The street lamp above them flickered, casting long shadows. The girl could see his hands, strong but not raised in anger. He reached into his pack and pulled out a small flask of water. He offered it to her. The girl stared at the flask. Her throat ached for water, but her heart told her this could be a trick. No one had ever given her anything, not once. Still, her shaking fingers reached forward. She touched the flask, pulled it back, then finally took it. She drank quickly, water spilling down her chin. Each drop felt like fire inside her dry body. The man did not laugh. He did not mock her. He only watched quietly, as if making sure she was safe. When she finished, she handed it back with trembling hands. Her voice cracked as she whispered, Why would you help me?" The man looked around the empty street. He knew the aliens in the city would soon see him kneeling beside her. They would not like it. Already whispers were starting in the shadows. Yet he did not move away. "Because you are alive," he said simply, "and no one should be left like this." The words were heavy. They cut into her heart deeper than any insult she had heard before. No one had spoken to her like that. For a moment she felt warmth inside, a strange warmth she had almost forgotten, but then fear returned. If the others saw, they might attack him, they might punish her. She shook her head. "They will hurt you if you stay. They will hurt me too." The man stood, his tall figure blocking the cold wind. He looked down at her, his jaw set with quiet strength. "Let them try," he said. The girl stared at him. Her whole life people had turned their backs. Now this human was standing before her as if he was not afraid of anyone. For the first time, hope flickered inside her chest, a tiny spark in the darkness. The street around them grew colder, but she felt something warmer than the night air. Suspense filled the silence. She wondered, what would happen next? Would he really take her away from this place? Or would the crowd rise against him before he could? In that moment, sitting on the abandoned street, the dirty alien girl realized her life was about to change. She just did not know how much yet. The night was still, the fog thick in the air. The girl's hands shook as she held the empty flask. She could still taste the water on her lips. It felt like a dream. No one had ever shared food or drink with her before, yet this human had done it without asking for anything. The man stood, tall, his coat heavy against the cold wind. His eyes kept moving across the street. He knew the city was not safe for her, not safe for him either. The aliens hated humans, and they hated weakness even more. To help the dirty girl was to invite trouble, but he did not step back. He had already made his choice. The girl curled tighter against the wall, afraid of the voices she could hear from the shadows. Whispers, laughter, footsteps moving closer. The city never slept, and cruel eyes always searched for something to hate. She whispered again, her voice like a broken string. "Why are you here? Why are you not afraid?" The man looked down at her. His face was calm, but his jaw was set. His words came slow, steady. "Because you remind me of someone I once knew, someone who deserved better, someone who never got the chance." The girl did not understand, but his tone carried weight. She lowered her eyes, thinking it was only pity. She hated pity. It burned. Worse than hunger. She wanted to tell him to leave, to save himself before the crowd came, but her throat locked. The truth was she did not want him to leave. From the corner of the street, a group of alien men appeared. Their eyes narrowed when they saw the human kneeling beside her. One of them spat on the ground and growled, "Why touch the dirt, human? Leave her, she belongs in the gutter." The girl froze. Her heart pounded so loud she thought they could hear it. Normally, this was the moment when people turned their backs on her. They would laugh, sometimes kick her, sometimes worse. She waited for the human to step away, but he did not move. Instead, he placed himself between her and the aliens, his broad shoulders blocking their view. He looked straight at them. His voice was calm but strong. "She belongs nowhere but under the same sky as you. Step aside." The aliens laughed. The sound was sharp, cruel. The tallest one sneered. "You dare defend her, you dare defend trash. Do you not know what happens to those who protect filth?" The girl tugged at his sleeve in panic, whispering fast, "Please do not fight. They will hurt you. They will hurt me worse." But the human's hand stayed steady at his side. He did not draw a weapon. He did not shout. He only stared back with a fire in his eyes that made even the boldest alien hesitate for a moment. His silence spoke louder than any threat. Finally, the group spat insults and walked away, muttering, "Foolish human, he will regret this." Their laughter faded into the night, leaving only the sound of the wind. The girl sat frozen, her hands gripping her knees so hard her nails cut her skin. She looked at the man in disbelief. Why would you stand for me? They will come back. They will make you pay." He turned to her slowly, his face softened. "I am not here to watch you die in the street. I am not here to see another soul broken. You need food, warmth, and a place to rest." Her chest tightened. She shook her head. "No one gives without taking. You will want something, they all do." Her voice trembled. Her eyes brimmed with tears she did not want to show, but he only knelt again, his voice low. "What I want is for you to live." The words struck her heart like thunder. For a moment, she could not breathe. Her eyes widened, searching his face for lies, but there was only steady truth. She felt weak, her walls crumbling. For so long she had believed no one cared, no one ever would. And now this human was changing everything with a few simple words. The silence between them grew heavy, broken only by the rustle of wind. Finally, he reached out his hand, rough and scarred, waiting for her to take it. His choice was clear. He was offering her something no one else ever had, freedom from the gutter, a chance to stand. Her fingers shook as she stared at his hand. Her mind screamed it was a trick, but her heart begged her to believe. Slowly, painfully, she lifted her hand and placed it in his. The warmth of his skin was like fire against her cold fingers. He helped her stand. Her legs wobbled, weak from hunger. But he did not let her fall. He held her steady, guiding her away from the stone wall she had known as her prison. The street stretched long before them, fog curling like ghosts at their feet. The girl looked back once at the dark corner where she had spent her nights. That place of pain, of rejection, of endless hunger. For the first time, she was leaving it behind. The human led her forward, every step echoing like a promise. The city's whispers followed them, but neither turned back. The girl did not know where he was taking her. She did not know if she would live another day, but in her heart a spark had been lit. The spark of hope, fragile but alive, and all because of one man, one choice, one human who refused to walk away. The city street stretched long and narrow, filled with broken stones and faint light from flickering lamps. The human walked slowly, holding the alien girl's trembling hand. She tried to hide behind him, her head lowered, her hair covering her face. Each step felt heavy, as if the whole city was watching. And they were. Shadows moved in doorways, eyes glared from windows. Whispers rose like cold smoke in the night air. Look at him, a human walking with dirt. Why does he touch her? Has he lost his mind? Filth belongs on the ground, not beside us. The girl's chest tightened. Her heart pounded painfully with every word. She wanted to pull away, to run back to her corner and vanish. At least there she was invisible. At least there she was only forgotten, not mocked. But the human's grip stayed firm. Not crushing, not cruel, only steady. His steps did not waver. Though insults were thrown like stones, he kept his head high, his eyes forward, walking as though the path was his alone. The girl whispered, her voice almost lost to the night. Please let me go. They will hate you. They will hurt you for this. The man looked at her briefly. His jaw was hard, his voice calm. Let them hate, let them whisper, they do not decide what I do. His words struck her, simple yet powerful. For so long she had lived in fear of every glance, every cruel word, and here he was, defying them all with silence. With strength, children peeked from behind corners, laughing, pointing at her dirty clothes and thin body. Some adults joined the laughter, their voices sharp, cruel. The human has found his pet, how fitting, one shouted. Another spat on the ground. Better wash your hands, human, filth spreads fast. Her cheeks burned with shame. Her body shook with humiliation. She felt smaller than ever. Her eyes filled with tears, but she bit her lip, trying not to cry. She had promised herself never to cry before them, never to give them joy. Yet the man did not slow. He did not turn to answer. His silence was louder than their voices. Each insult hit him, but he walked as if the noise did not matter. For the girl, it was confusing. How could he walk so steady while the world spat at him? How could he not feel the shame that drowned her? They passed the crowded square, torches glowing on tall poles, vendors packing their stalls. Faces turned, mocking laughter followed. The whispers grew louder. People moved aside as if the pair carried disease. One alien woman threw a rotten fruit at the girl. It hit her shoulder, sliding down with sticky pulp. The crowd laughed louder. The girl stumbled, shame and fear twisting her stomach. She expected the man to finally let go, to release her hand and walk away, but instead he stopped. His eyes turned sharp as steel. He looked at the woman. His voice was quiet, but filled with weight. You should be ashamed. Not her. The laughter faded for a moment. The crowd grew uneasy under his glare. Then more mocking voices rose to cover the silence. The human protects trash. He is trash himself. The man turned back. His hand tightened gently around hers, guiding her forward again. He said nothing more, but the girl felt something strange. Pride. Not for herself, but for him. She glanced at him secretly, his face hard, his eyes burning with a quiet fire. He looked unshaken, untouched by the storm around him. She wondered if this was what strength truly looked like. Not the strength of fists, but the strength of spirit. Her legs felt weak, hunger twisting inside her, but his grip gave her balance. His steady pace gave her courage. Slowly, step by step, she let herself lean into his strength. Even if the whole city stared, she was not walking alone anymore. They reached a narrow alley leading toward the quieter part of the city. The voices faded behind them, but the shame still burned in her chest. She whispered again, almost ashamed to speak. Why do you not care what they say? Do you not feel the shame? He stopped for a moment. His eyes looked into hers, calm but unyielding. Shame is only real if you believe their lies, he said. I do not believe them, and neither should you. Her breath caught. The words were simple, yet they struck her deeper than anything before. Could it really be so? Could she simply refuse to carry the weight of their hatred? The night grew colder, stars hidden behind clouds, but inside her chest a strange warmth flickered, fragile but alive. She followed him quietly, her heart torn between fear and hope. The path ahead was unknown, but she could feel it. Something had already changed. The walk that began as shame now felt like the start of something greater, something she could not yet name. The night grew quieter as they left the crowded square. The voices of the mocking crowd faded behind them, but the girl still felt their words burning in her chest. She walked with her head down, clutching the human's hand, afraid to believe in this strange kindness. He led her through winding alleys, until they reached a small house at the edge of the city. Its walls were worn, its door plain, but there was light glowing softly inside. Compared to the cold streets, it felt like another world. The man pushed open the door and guided her inside. The air was warmer, carrying the faint smell of food and clean wood. She stopped just past the doorway, afraid to move further. Afraid this was all a trick. Afraid that soon the warmth would turn into chains. The man noticed her hesitation. He spoke softly. You are safe here. No one will hurt you. She wanted to believe him, but her body refused. Her heart still carried too many scars. She had lived too long in the dirt, too long hearing the word filth, she whispered. Why bring me here? I am nothing. The man set down his bag and looked at her. His voice was steady. You are not nothing. You are someone who deserves better. The words echoed in her mind like thunder. She lowered her head quickly, hiding her tears. She had never heard anyone speak of her that way. The man moved to the back of the small house and opened a door. Steam drifted out gently. He motioned for her to follow. She stepped forward carefully, her bare feet silent on the floor. Inside was a small room with stone walls and a metal pipe, fixed high above. The faint sound of water dripped into the drain below. It was a shower. The girl froze, staring at it as if it were a miracle. The man turned a handle, and suddenly water poured out, clear and warm. Steam filled the room, curling around them like soft clouds. The girl's eyes widened, her mouth opening in disbelief. She had seen water in buckets and dirty puddles, but never like this, never flowing so freely, never warm. The man stepped back, giving her space. His voice was calm. Go on. It's for you. Clean yourself. Take your time. Her body shook. She wanted to step under the water, but fear held her back. What if it hurt? What if he mocked her once she was clean? She whispered, I cannot. I am not worthy. But the man shook his head, his eyes steady. You are, everyone is, try and you will see. Slowly, trembling, she stepped forward. The steam kissed her skin. She lifted her hand into the falling water. Warmth spread through her fingers. She gasped softly. It was gentle, soothing, like the embrace of something she had forgotten long ago. Tears filled her eyes as she stepped fully under the stream. The water hit her tangled hair, ran down her face, slid across her arms. The dirt began to loosen, dark streaks running down into the drain. She touched her face, feeling her skin beneath for the first time in years. The man stood outside the doorway, facing away, giving her privacy. He did not watch, he did not intrude. He only waited quietly, making sure she was safe. That small act of respect broke something inside her. No one had ever given her such dignity, her sobs mixed with the sound of running water. She tried to hold them back, but they came stronger. Her tears washed with the dirt. She felt layers of shame sliding away with the filth. Every drop of water seemed to peel off the cruel names, the mocking laughter, the years of rejection. Minutes passed, then more. The girl scrubbed her arms, her face, her hair, until the water ran clear, until her skin glowed softly under the steam. She had almost forgotten what she looked like, now in the reflection of a small metal mirror on the wall. She saw a face she barely recognized. She was not the dirty girl anymore. She was alien, yes, different, yes. But her features were delicate, her eyes bright. Her hair, now clean, fell in shining strands across her shoulders. For the first time, she looked at herself without disgust. When she finally stepped out, a towel wrapped tightly around her thin frame, her body still shaking, she saw the man waiting. He did not stare. He only handed her a set of simple clothes, clean and warm. "These are yours now," he said. Her lips trembled as she took them. She wanted to speak, to thank him, but the words would not form. Instead, she clutched the clothes to her chest, tears still slipping down her cheeks. The human gave her a small nod, as if to say no thanks were needed. Then he moved to the kitchen, starting a small fire to heat food. His movements were calm, ordinary, but to the girl it was extraordinary. She sat quietly, her heart racing, her skin still warm from the shower, her soul still shaking from the change. For the first time in years, she felt clean. For the first time, she felt human. And deep inside, a question began to grow. Who was this man, and why had he chosen her? The fire in the small stove crackled softly, filling the little house with warmth. The smell of food drifted through the air, simple but rich compared to the scraps she used to eat on the street. The girl sat on a chair near the table, her wet hair falling down her back, clean clothes covering her thin body. She touched the fabric again and again, afraid it would vanish, afraid it was not real. For so long, the only clothes she had known were torn, stiff with dirt. Now the soft cloth against her skin felt almost unreal. Every time she blinked, she thought she would open her eyes back in the gutter. But no, she was here, in this strange man's home. The human placed a bowl in front of her, steam rising from the soup. His hands were rough, scarred from work or battle, but gentle in their movements. He said simply, "Eat." The girl hesitated. Her instinct told her nothing was free. In her world, kindness always came with a price. She looked at him carefully, searching for the trap, searching for the hunger in his eyes, but he only sat across the table, eating quietly from his own bowl, not staring, not rushing her. Her stomach twisted painfully, hunger screaming louder than fear. Slowly, she lifted the spoon. Her hand shook so badly that some spilled back into the bowl. But when the first taste touched her tongue, her eyes widened. Warmth spread through her body. She ate faster, almost desperately. Each mouthful felt like life returning to her. The man said nothing. He let her eat, only refilling her bowl when it was empty. The silence between them was not heavy. It was strange, but comforting. When she finally slowed, leaning back with tears in her eyes, she whispered, Why are you doing this? No one has ever treated me like this, not even my own people." The man looked at her, his eyes steady. "Because no one should live as you have. Because you deserve a chance to be more than what they call you." Her chest tightened. She wanted to believe him, but doubt still clung like chains. "I was born in dirt, I will die in dirt, that is all I am," she whispered, her voice trembling. The man leaned forward slightly, his tone firm but calm. "That is what they told you, that is the lie they made you believe, but I see more. I see someone strong enough to survive what should have broken her, and that strength is worth more than their cruel words." The girl lowered her gaze, tears sliding down her cheeks. His words cut deep, breaking the wall she had built inside. She had survived hunger, pain, loneliness. But kindness, real kindness, was harder to face. It made her weak. It made her want to hope. After the meal, she sat quietly, staring at her reflection in the small metal mirror on the wall. For years she had avoided her reflection, hating what she saw, but now with her skin clean and her hair brushed, she looked different, not just outside but inside too. Her eyes, once dull, now carried a faint light. Her cheeks, once hidden under dirt, showed faint color. She touched her face with trembling fingers, whispering, "Is this really me?" The human walked past, carrying wood for the fire. He glanced at her reflection, then back at her, his expression calm, respectful. Yes, that is you, not what they called you. Her heart pounded. His words echoed in her mind. She was not the dirty girl. She was someone. She was alive. And for the first time, she wondered if she could become more. That night, she lay on a small bed the man had prepared. The blanket was thin but soft compared to the cold stone she once slept on. She pulled it close around her body, staring at the ceiling. She could not sleep, her thoughts restless. She remembered the mocking voices, the rotten fruit, the cruel laughter. Yet now she also remembered the warmth of water, the taste of food, the steady strength of his hand. Both worlds clashed inside her, one filled with shame, the other with dignity. She whispered to herself, "Who am I now?" In the quiet room, her heart began to answer. She was not just the abandoned child on the street. She was not just filth. She was someone worth saving, someone worth fighting for. And the man, the strange human who had chosen her, he had given her that chance. His presence was still a mystery. She did not know why he had chosen her, but she felt the truth. He had no hidden chains, no cruel demand, only a simple choice to care. Her tears finally slowed, and for the first time in years, she slept without fear. But outside, in the city, whispers still spread. The crowd had not forgotten. The shame they tried to put on her had not disappeared, and soon, the test of this fragile hope would come. Inside the house, however, one thing was already clear. She was changing. She was no longer the dirty alien girl. She was beginning a transformation, not just of body, but of soul. The morning came slowly, thin sunlight slipping through the cracks of the old shutters. The girl woke with a start, her body stiff but warmer than she had ever remembered. She lay on the small bed, the blanket wrapped around her shoulders. For a moment she forgot where she was. She thought she was back on the cold street, but then she saw the wooden walls, the stove, and the smell of fresh food, and she knew it was real. The human was already awake, moving quietly, preparing breakfast. His movements were calm, steady, as if nothing could disturb him. He placed bread and tea on the table, nodding toward her. "Eat," he said simply. Her heart warmed. She whispered thanks, though her voice was faint. The food filled her stomach with strength. Every bite reminded her this was no dream. This was life, and it was changing. But outside, the city was stirring. Whispers spread through. The streets, rumors carried like smoke. The crowd had seen the human bring the dirty girl into his home. They had mocked him in the night, but their anger had not faded. In this city, kindness to filth was not forgiven. By midday, the sound of footsteps gathered near his door. Harsh voices rose, demanding answers. "Bring her out," one shouted. "The street trash has no right to live among us." Another voice called. "You, shame this city, human, you shame us all." The girl froze, her hands trembling. Her breath quickened. Her chest tightened with fear. She had expected this deep down. She had always known it would come. Her people hated her too much. They would not let her escape. She turned to the man, her eyes wide. "They will hurt you. They will burn your house. Please let me go. If I leave now, they will stop." But the man's face stayed calm, his eyes steady. He stood and walked toward the door. "Stay here," he said firmly. His voice was quiet, but left no room for argument. The girl clutched the blanket, fear swallowing her. She could hear the voices outside growing louder, rocks striking the wall, angry footsteps pounding the earth. She wanted to run, to hide, but her body would not move. The man opened the door. The sunlight poured in, blinding for a moment. A crowd stood before the small house, their faces twisted with anger. Some carried sticks, others stones. Many spat on the ground as soon as they saw him. The tallest alien, the same who had mocked them the night before, stepped forward. His voice was sharp, filled with hatred. "You dare bring that filth into your home. You defy the law of this city. Humans are already cursed, and now you carry dirt into your bed." The man's eyes narrowed. His voice came calm but heavy with steel. "She is alive. She deserves warmth. She deserves dignity. None of you have the right to deny her that." The crowd roared in anger. Their voices clashed like thunder. "She is trash. She spreads shame. Throw her back where she belongs." Inside, the girl pressed her hands over her ears, tears streaming down her face. The sound of their hatred was like knives, cutting deep into her soul. She whispered to herself, "It is my fault he will suffer because of me." But then she heard his voice again, cutting through the noise. "You call her dirt because it is easier than seeing your own cruelty. You call her trash because you are afraid of the truth, that she is stronger than all of you." The crowd fell silent for a breath. His words landed heavy. Some shifted uneasily, but others only grew more furious. A rock flew from the crowd, striking the doorframe near his head. The girl screamed softly, clutching the blanket tighter. The man did not flinch. He stepped forward, his presence like a wall. His voice rose, no longer calm but sharp. "If any of you dare touch her, you will answer to me. I will not let you break her again." The crowd hissed and muttered. Some stepped back, but the tall alien sneered. "You cannot fight us all, human. You will lose, and she will still return to the gutter." The man's fists clenched, his jaw tightened. He was ready to fight. He was only one, but the fire in his eyes made him stand like an army. Inside, the girl's heart raced. She could not let him fight for her. She could not bear to see him broken. Yet her body stayed frozen, chained by fear. Minutes stretched like hours. The standoff between one man and the crowd burned in silence. Then, slowly, the voices began to fade. Not because they were convinced, but because none dared take the first step against him. They muttered threats, spat on the ground, and finally began to scatter. The tall alien glared once more before leaving, his voice low. "This is not over, human. You cannot protect her forever." The man closed the door. His chest rose and fell heavily, but his face remained calm. He turned to see the girl curled in the corner, her eyes wide with terror. He knelt down, his hand gentle on her shoulder. "It is over for now," he said. She shook her head, tears falling fast. "No, it will never end. They will come again. They will kill you because of me." He looked at her, his voice steady. "Then let them come. I will not abandon you." Her breath caught. Her body shook harder. No one had ever spoken those words to her. No one had ever chosen to stay. The fear inside her clashed with a new feeling, hope. That night, she lay awake, listening to the silence outside. The threat was not gone. It was only waiting, but in her heart she knew one thing. She was no longer alone. The world hated her, but he had stood for her, and that truth was stronger than all their voices. The night passed heavy with silence. The girl lay awake on the small bed, her eyes wide, staring at the ceiling. Outside, the streets were quiet, but she knew the peace would not last. The crowd's voices still rang in her ears, the words trash, filth, shame echoing like chains. Yet there was something else echoing too. The man's voice, firm and steady. "I will not abandon you." Those words had wrapped around her heart like a shield, stronger than any wall. For the first time, she wondered if maybe, just maybe, she was more than what they called her. When dawn broke, the man was already outside, chopping wood for the stove. His movements were strong, each strike steady. He looked like someone who had carried burdens his whole life, but had never let them crush him. The girl stood at the doorway, hugging the blanket around her. The sunlight touched her clean skin. Her hair glowed softly in the light. She looked different. She felt different. Still doubt clung to her. She whispered, "Why do you fight for me? Why do you care when no one else does?" The man wiped his brow, setting the axe aside. He looked at her with calm eyes. "Because someone must. Because if no one helps, then cruelty wins. And I will not let that happen." Her throat tightened. His words sank deep. She had lived her whole life believing kindness was weakness, yet here was a man proving it was the greatest strength. Later, they ate together in silence. The girl moved slowly, still shy, still unsure. But inside, she felt something new. Dignity. For the first time, she sat at a table as if she belonged there, not outside in the dirt. After the meal, the man pulled a small cloth bag from his shelf. Inside were a few coins. He placed it on the table, his voice steady. "We will leave this city soon." "They will not stop?" and you deserve a place where their voices cannot reach. Her eyes widened, her hands trembled. Leave. With me, she whispered, disbelief shaking her words. He nodded once. Yes, if you wish it, I will not force you. The choice is yours. The girl froze. Her heart pounded. No one had ever given her a choice, not once. Her life had always been controlled by others, their hatred, their rules, their cruelty. But now, here was freedom, fragile and terrifying. Her voice broke as she whispered, I do not want to go back. Not to the streets, not to being nothing. He met her gaze, his expression softening. Then we go forward. Tears filled her eyes. She nodded, and for the first time, the word hope felt real. That afternoon, she sat, brushing her clean hair in the small mirror. Her reflection no longer frightened her. The girl she saw was thin. Yes, scarred, yes. But she was no longer hidden under dirt. She was alive. She was becoming someone new. Her mind whispered, You are not the dirty girl, you are not what they said. As the sun lowered, footsteps echoed outside again, but this time softer. The girl stiffened, fear rising. The man stood quickly, ready. But instead of an angry crowd, a small child peeked around the corner, wide-eyed, curious. The girl froze. The child stared at her, not with hate, but with wonder. You look different, the child whispered. You are not dirty anymore. The word struck her harder than any insult ever had. For years she had been branded with one name, dirty. Now even a child could see the truth. She was not that girl anymore. The child's parent hurried them away, fear on their face, but the girl stood taller, straighter. Her heart lifted. She whispered to herself, Not dirty, not anymore. The man placed a hand on her shoulder, steady and firm. You see, change has already begun. That night, as stars filled the sky, the girl sat outside the house beside him. The air was cool, the world quiet. She spoke softly, her voice carrying both fear and hope. Do you think I can ever be more? More than what they made me? He looked at her, his face calm, his eyes reflecting the stars. You already are. Her breath caught. The words wrapped around her like the blanket had the night before. She looked at him, and for the first time she believed she was no longer the abandoned child on the street. She was no longer the alien girl called filth. She was someone reborn in kindness, carried by courage. The city still hated her, danger still waited. But, inside, she had already taken her first step into a new beginning, and beside her one human stood firm, unshaken, ready to face the world for her. Together they would walk forward, into a life no one believed she could have, and the story of the dirty, alien girl was no longer one of despair but of hope. A hope that began the moment one human chose to care.